is a building block of national development. It is the foundation on which all other developmental strides rest.
Patriotism and nationalism, which may represent national interests as you use. In my opinion, the two of them are synonymous. They are synonymous.
Patriotism is an act of devotion to one's country. Yes, we have patriotic people in Nigeria, but this patriotism has been fragmented by multivarious issues bedeviling this country. And for example, now we have different interests. The North have their interests, the South have their interests.
Patriotic leaders lead selflessly and in the interest of all. They do not squander the commonwealth of their citizens, nor be comfortable in stupendous wealth, while majority wallow in abject poverty. Can this aptly describe the state of things in Nigeria?
We have two classes as well of people, the upper rich and the poor. The upper rich, they are concerned with how they will protect their wealth in the country, and they are deploying everything possible to make sure that they protect their wealth, and they are bringing even their children up to make sure that the wealth is well protected from generation to generation.
But I think that those who are in power use patriotism or nationalism only to deceive the masses. There are two nations in Nigeria. We have the nation of the rich and the nation of the poor. So when those in power talk about promoting national interest, they are merely talking about deepening or protecting or promoting their own economic interests.
Whereas the poor are just concerned with how they will send their children to the school, how the children will become somebody in the society. However, the upper class is not helping them to achieve that things. They are doing everything possible to make sure that the hands of the poor or the children of the poor are not going up. They prefer to reproduce themselves, to recycle themselves in this country, so that they keep the poor in perpetual poorer condition.
If we have the most unpatriotic leaders and citizens in Nigeria, little wonder it is in bad shape in terms of development.
Patriotism or national interest has meaning to those who are in government, the ruling class, only to the extent that their own interest is promoted.
National interest is for the politician, not for the common people. The common, all what they want, the common people want is protection, a good environment, an enabling environment where they will be able to exercise their freedom, to enjoy their life.
Manifestation of unpatriotic spirits include corruption to protect oneself from economic variance, nepotism to protect the tribe above the nation state, impunity, crime, not paying taxes, or performing patriotic duties because of a feeling that the state has not offered any reason to hand their loyalty. A common denominator for all patriot and patriotic acts is the recognition that the nation has given them an identity, so they hold our responsibilities. As the country gets set for another transition, what are the measures that should be in place in order to stimulate patriotism and promote national interest?
It's now at the brink of bankruptcy, so we need people to vote for the right candidate in this coming election.
Patriotism is an individual attribute, and like any other quality or attribute, it must come from the heart, just as the feeling of love cannot emanate from outside. Kunle Ojo, Galaxy TV.
You're welcome back. What a good future, and I like the way our correspondent Kunle Ojo concluded the project. Patriotism is something that is in the heart, which has to be displayed outward by our conduct and our actions and reactions. Are we ready for it? This is the time anyway But mine is just to let it bear for you. Our guest today is no other person than Barrister Kingsley Chime. He is a development expert, and of course he was here last week and we told him that he failed his exams, and that's why he's here to do a repeat. And I pray that God helps him. If he fails today again, he will do another repeat. Chime,
thank you so
you are
much.
welcome
Thank
to the
you
program.
so much, Mr. Wale, and good afternoon. Thank you so much, and good afternoon, viewers. Compliment of the season.
And really, thank you, compliments of the season to you too. And this is national sacrifice. This is patriotism too on the part of Chime, our guest.
Yes.
Because he's supposed to, our brothers from the East, they don't miss the East. But I told him, you don't feel, say, you must come back and sit for these exams today. I said, who am I? He has answered your call, and this is a display of patriotism.
Thank you
Can
so
you just take
much.
it up from there? What do we mean by this patriotism that everyone is talking about?
Well, first and foremost, let me say that my coming here is also part of the patriotism spirit. Patriotism doesn't necessarily mean that it must come from the head. So everybody must be patriotic. So patriotism and national interest, they are coterminous. They are two concepts that work together. Patriotism simply means the love for one's country. So how do you show love to your country, and what is expected of you as a citizen? That is what patriotism means. National interest simply is directed at the leaders who must lead based on principles of fairness, justice, and equity, irrespective of tribe, tongue, religion, or political affiliation. That the policies and programs of government must be for the general good of the society and not for a particular individual. However, and unfortunately, Nigeria's sense of patriotism and national interest has become what I call the proverbial cow with a wooden leg, whose existence is essentially at the subversive cannibalism by its owner. What this simply means is that Nigeria has become a cow with wounds and injuries all over its body, being infested by its people, both leaders and the led, based on maladministration, corruption, and injustice. So everybody wants to feed fat on this nation called Nigeria, and by so doing, Nigeria constantly suffers humiliation. And the irony of it is that those who are championing this cannibalization of this proverbial cow were those who benefited, or who have benefited immensely from this same country. If you look at the democratic process of Nigeria, particularly the independence struggles, the nationalists, they had national interest at heart. They fought for the freedom of this country. But along the line, the thing has changed. And when people talk about patriotism now, they are viewed with suspicious eyes, in the sense that you begin to think or feel that those who are promoting or prioritizing patriotism are benefiting directly or indirectly from the system. So it is a concerted effort for all and sundry to show patriotism, and for leaders to also have at the back of their mind that national interest must first and foremost be the primary consideration in these policies and programs.
Yeah, it must be consideration for policies and programs. But we have since found out that so-called political leaders, whenever they are bringing out their policies or they are bringing out their project, it is tailored towards their own benefit rather than the benefit of the people. Why is it so?
Yes, I listened to one of the persons that was interviewed a short while ago. You could see that he made the point very eloquently, that it appears that leaders come to power through the process or the idea that they were coming there to represent the people, or they have this patriotic spirit or national interest at heart. But along the line, once they are voted in, they begin to manifest their parochial interest over and above that national interest. And this has become possible because of even the people who has refused to also show patriotism to his or her own country. Because patriotism also means that you must tell the truth to power. You must hold your leaders accountable. When you begin to pounder on emotions, pounder on sentiments, pounder on tribes, tongues, religion, and ethnicity, even political affiliation, you will be beclouded by sense of justice. You will no longer have sense of justice because you feel that this person is your own. So whatever he's doing is right before you. That is what Nigeria has become. You can see that play out when a political figure in this country is being tried for one offense or the other, particularly when it has to deal with corruption. You see his people coming back to own him. Nobody is saying, nobody is interrogating the veracity or otherwise of what that leader has done. But for the fact that he's from a particular geopolitical zone, from a particular political party or religion, you see people saying, leave him, he's our own. You are antagonizing him. So it is no longer about the veracity of what he has done, but we own corruption, we own maladministration, and that will continue to make leaders to only go about their own personal interests. But if they are being told the truth, irrespective of where the affiliation you belong, they will sit up. So both the citizens, both the leaders and the led must work together to ensure that that national interest, which is at the heart of democracy, is being promoted.
Let me just bring you back. When you were your first intervention, you talked about cannibalizing the country.
Yes.
I want us to now look at it very well. But before you go there, I want to bring it. When I was in the secondary school, we read a book. It was called by George Orwell. The major character, the Animal Farm.
Yes, I read one. Yes, when animal is more equal than I read
Old
it.
Major
Very well.
just took up the structure,
Very
and
well.
of course he now brought up the principle of all animals are equal, but one is more equal than the other. That's what we are having here. We are all in the Orwellian farm, where some animals believe that they are better than us.
Yes.
But again, the main issue is that they have taken advantage of the system rather than building it up. Every one of us allowing our hands to be on deck. I like the caption of the statute at Maryland Junction, where all of us, there are several hands lifting the Nigerian map.
Yes.
That's what it's supposed to be. All of us must play a patriotic role of lifting the Nigerian country. Every one of us playing a little bit. You are here, instead of you to go to your place to be eating other where are you from? Where is the name of your village? Odi, Odi. Not Ofe Salah, but Ofe Odi and palm wine, or even merriment with your people.
Wine,
you are here in the for national as a result of patriotism. Same here too. I'm supposed to go to my own village and celebrate New Year with my people, but national duty. You had when my daughter was calling me now that we are going to church, but I'm here for national duty. But some people don't see it that way. They have the opportunity and they squander it or take advantage of it to the interest of for the interest of the people. How can we turn this one around?
Yes, lack of national interest and patriotism has become institutionalized in Nigeria. I'm sorry to say this, but we have to be realistic. Yes, you did mention a book by George Orwell, yes, Animal Farm, where some animals are more equal than others. You also look at other books, I think written by The Beautiful Ones Are Not Yet Born. It also, characterize the concept of society where, people hate. There's a particular bird called chichidodo. It's a chichidodo. It hates human excrement, but it lives on maggots that feeds on shit. So the implication is that you as citizens, we are condemning those in leadership position because they have not lived up to the expectation. You as a citizen, what are you doing to ensure that leaders are held accountable in the election process? Have you gone ahead have you sensitized the people of the need for them to participate in the election process? Have you obtained your voters card? Have you ensured that the only credible persons are voted into power? This is what patriotism is all about. This is what national interest is all about. So when we begin to push the blames or to apportion the blames, it will leave us to look like that bird called chichidodo that hates human excrement, but to live on maggot that feeds on shit. Simply mean that while we are condemning those in leadership position for their maladministration, we have not taken any step to ensure that that aspect is corrected. So that is the tragedy of a country called Nigeria.
Okay. Second leg. Sorry. I'll still pick my. Ask your question.
Okay. All right. I want to ask first of all, is like, as much as we love our country, why is it that our country, we don't have enough people that participate in politics? Because I believe patriotism is actually involving yourself in politics, whatever that happens in the country. Why do you think our people don't go into that line of patriotism, involving themselves in politics?
Well, we have election apathy in Nigeria, or voter apathy. You know, people feel that it's only the privileged few that can make it. In fact, let me give a trajectory of leadership positions in Nigeria, because we have to deal with the root cause before we'll be able to know how to deal with the substance. If you look at those who have held leadership position, particularly at the HLM of power, it will appear that you have to be unprepared to even grab power. Most people who have ascended either by not my will or someone who was not prepared or by virtue of your name, you know, you came to power. So you see that it has continued to affect us directly and indirectly. Election is coming. The constitution, the constitutional democracy which we practice, has not made it to appear that only credible persons will ascend leadership position, unlike what is obtainable in other developed countries. Yes, where for you to be the president of a country, you must have attended one of the Ivy schools. I'm not saying that should be practical here, but it only demonstrates the need for people to be ready, because leadership is not accidental. You have to be prepared and know the needs of your people. But what we have here is school attendance. So anybody can become a president, anybody can become a governor, a local government chairman, or legislator, as the case may be. So there's no laid down structure to be able to galvanize this process where we begin to have credible persons ascend to power. It's about political parties, and whoever is being presented to us will have no choice than to vote between them.
Yes. Okay. While you were talking, I just liked an idea you brought in, and I'll add the second one. The first one is that issue of ascendancy. If people have not been given the opportunity, or they have not gone through the system, a streamlined system, which will now train them naturally to be patriotic, which we have in other countries that we mentioned, they can't get to office because most of, as you have heard, and you two have said, most of the people who had so far, most of them are accidental.
Yes.
Most of the people that we have had as presidents, and even some governors too, they are the ones who didn't prepare. It just fell on their laps. So obviously such people will not appreciate that office, and they will not do well. And that's why the people come in now, to ensure that they vote in those that have prepared themselves for office. That's the first issue that you address. Then the second one about patriotism itself. I guess last week you discussed about a video wherein somebody was shown disturbing, just maybe mutilating the measure, to make more money. Obviously, if someone is patriotic, it's not even only in government, but in all spheres. Is it fuel shortages that we have now, the fuel queue? You can be sure that there are some people who will be selling adulterated fuel to people. Are these not elements of unpatriotism?
Exactly the point. You know, I've said earlier that for us to talk about patriotism, it must be all encompassing. There must be a concerted effort from everybody. It is not looking at a particular, because patriotism in Nigerian concept have been skewed to appear that it's only those who are benefiting from the system are patriotic.
Yes.
So if you are not in the system, you don't care what is obtainable in government.
Yes.
It's about everybody to your tent, O Israel. So everybody, because if you're in a government...
Sorry to cut you. Will that be the reason why you see public infrastructures being destroyed by some people?
Of course. We don't even have maintenance culture. Who maintains what in this country? For instance, I'm saying it with all sense of responsibility. When you see public infrastructure, you begin to imagine how we came to this point. Take, for instance, Nigerian police. I want to use them as an example because it's a daily occurrence. You see the vehicle of Nigerian police. You see how rickety it looks.
Which is not so in other countries.
To wonder, these people, is it that they don't understand the value of maintenance. You see that they don't have enough money to maintain these vehicles, and you know that most of these vehicles are being given to them, so maintenance becomes the problem. Now if you must go deeply into it, they may tell you that they don't have allocation to maintain those vehicles. So they begin to use it in the same, and that replicates in all the public infrastructures we have. Go to CMS, you see federal government structures, they are all dilapidated. Most of them are unoccupied. Only rodents and criminals are harboring there. So that shows the kind of person we are. We do not take public things personally. So we feel that once it does not belong to me, anything can happen to it, can go to blazes.